Hello students, welcome to the Analyst dated 25th of January 2024. Today we look at 4 articles from the Indian Express and the Hindu. The first one will be regarding insider trading. Then we look at sharing investor data. Then we look at cashless treatment. And finally we'll look at direct listing. Let's look at the first article, that is insider trading. Now, an Indian American man has been convicted of insider trading on the Pfizer COVID-19 drug trial. And this particular topic, it pertains to your GS3, that is Indian economy. Now, what do you understand by an insider? So, can I say that I am an insider of Vajiram and Ravi? Can I say that if you are in the Indian police service, you are an insider of that particular state cadre? You are an insider of Government of India? Now, anyone who is part of any organization, anyone who is a part of any organization, they tend to, in day-to-day life, in the normal course of their work, they get a lot of information. Yes, some of that information can be privileged information. Some of that can be confidential information. Now, as an Indian police service officer, will you get some confidential reports from the Intelligence Bureau? So, if you are getting these confidential reports, can you leak it? Can you leak the privileged information that you have? In the due course of your work, in your day-to-day work, you are getting a lot of information. Now, if you breach these confidentiality agreements or you essentially leak this information, what will happen? You can be prosecuted under the Official Secrets Act. Yes. And as an officer, you do not have your freedom of speech and expression. Similarly, let's say there is a scientist. This senior scientist is working on, let's say, an engine, and we are talking about aerospace. So, if the senior scientist is working on the engine, this person will have the information whether the work on the engine is going correctly or not, whether they will be able to achieve the benchmark standards that are required for this particular engine. So, this is a type of insider, and the information that we discussed, it's an insider information. Now, what do you understand by insider trading? Now, this senior scientist was thinking that if my particular engine, if it succeeds, then what can happen? My company will get a lot of orders, and let's say orders to the tune of $5 billion. Yes, but the market knows that our company is working on an aerospace engine. But what if all this investment in research and development, it fails to deliver this engine? So will the market be disappointed? Will the investors be disappointed from my company? The answer is yes. So when investors are very happy with a company's results, what do? They buy the shares of the company. Okay. Now, in a typical market, who are the players? There are some retailers like you and me. Then there are some mutual funds. Then there are some institutional investors. All of them, if they are happy with a company, they will buy. And if they get to know that this engine is failing, so what they will do? They will sell the share, right? Now, it is a simple game of demand and supply. If there is very high demand for a company's share, its prices will increase. To say simply that if a lot of people are buying the shares of a particular company based upon the news of this engine, that this company is entering into aerospace industry and it is making an engine which can yield $5 billion of, let's say, order book. Okay. So what will happen? All the people, all the investors, different types of investors, they will start buying the shares. Now, supposedly, this senior scientist has now reasons to believe that there are no chances of this engine to succeed. Why? Because he has seen many prototypes, he has seen many products which are already there in the market, he has seen that our particular product is not that competent, or it has some engine defects, which will take another 4 years to manufacture or to rectify. So, if this senior scientist, he tells me to, let's say, sell the share. So this is passing up of privileged information, and this privileged information is used to do trading of shares. So based upon some insider's information, if I am engaging in a buy or sell activity of a publicly listed company's shares, then I will be culpable of insider trading. Then I can be punished, I can be found guilty by the courts of law for insider trading. Now, let's take a very simple example. Let's say 5 batchmates, they pass out from IIT Bombay, and they happen to be wingmates. They are in the same wing. So it is a general tendency to go out on trips together. It is a general tendency to meet at least once a year, or at least, let's say, in 6 months, or whenever they visit each other, they will definitely meet their wingmates. And there is also a tendency of all of them to talk to each other, yes, regarding the progress in life, etc. Now what happens is, one of them is an aerospace engineer, and the others are, let's say, working in Goldman Sachs, the other is working in Morgan Stanley as analyst, as financial analyst. Now let's say, in these talking terms, this engineer, he reveals that our engine is failing. So can this financial analyst, can they make some pecuniary gains, some gains after knowing this privileged information that this engine is failing? Can they sell these shares before the market gets to know about the engine failure? So the market today does not know whether the engine is failing or not. They are assuming that this engine is going ahead, that this $5 billion of investment of order book will come to the company. But this engineer knows, and now this engineer has conveyed this information to his wingmates. And these wingmates, what they can do? They can sell the shares of the company. In financial language, we call this as shorting the shares, or selling the shares before buying them. Or what they can do? They can sell the futures of this company, because they are somehow shorting the future interest in this company. They are saying that today the price is at 5,000 rupees, tomorrow it will definitely be below 5,000. So they are selling today to buy later. So this is shorting. And if you want to relate this, then this kind of example we have seen in the Adani Hindenburg issue, where sudden sell-off came in the shares of the company based upon a report, right? Now, before this report was coming, so let's say this is the Adani Enterprises, yes, and this is Hindenburg Research. Now Hindenburg Research has, it has no capacity, no financial capacity in front of Adani. When you are talking about Adani, you are talking about approximately $200 billion, yes, approximately. Give or take $200 billion, or at least $150 billion. What is the net worth of Hindenburg Research? Absolutely nothing in front of these $1 billion. Now what happens is, this Hindenburg Research, they have conducted a research. So it's a research on the basis of which some people, they are taking some positions. Who are these? These are hedge funds. These are hedge funds. Now, before releasing the report, they will pass on this information to some hedge funds who will take positions already in Adani before releasing the report to the market. What is this? You are basically disclosing some information that you know about your research to the market at a later point of time. But is Hindenburg Research an insider of Adani Group? The answer is no. So it's an independent research firm. So here you cannot say it's an insider trading. But what if a person who was working as vice president in Adani Ports, he told this information to some hedge funds? Then this will be called as insider trading, right? Usually this is done to what? This is done to gain some profit. Now, how do you go about doing this? What is the exact procedure that you employ to do insider trading? So let's say this is an insider. this insider can sell the information to some mutual fund or some foreign institutional investor or some foreign portfolio investor, or let's say some high net worth HNIs, high net worth individuals. Yes. So all of them, what they can do, they can individually take the decisions to short the share. Or let's say this insider, he is telling that we are developing an engine which we haven't told to the world, and this engine is gonna make a breakthrough. So what you do, please, before we release the report in the market, what you do, you buy the shares of my company. Again, now what will happen? All of them will make some money, and in return, they will pass on some benefits to this insider. So here the insider is also making money, mutual funds are also making money, and this is typically how it operates. Now this buy and selling of share, it can happen either directly or indirectly. Now please understand something. As an insider, let's say you are working at HDFC Bank, and because you have worked there for 20 years, so you have got, let's say, 0.01% of shares of HDFC. Now, can you sell or buy shares of HDFC? Yes, but you will have to disclose before making the transaction. You will have to disclose this under the insider trading norms of SEBI. You have to disclose that I am going to buy these shares or I am going to sell these shares, dump these shares. So before you execute the decision, you have to tell this. Because why? Because as an insider, you have a lot of information about HDFC Bank. So what happens? You disclose it to SEBI. SEBI will publish it to the market. That see, the one of the top vice presidents of HDFC Bank, he sold his shares. Then investors will research. They will do their independent research why the insiders are selling the share. Then if the investors are worried, then maybe HDFC Bank will issue a statement because of personal reasons or because the person is quitting. So he's moving to another bank. So he's selling his shares, right? So that means you can buy and sell, but you will have to disclose. Now, there are various methods of insider trading. One is the classic insider trading that we were discussing. I am essentially selling some information and in return I am getting some, or I am essentially in classic insider trading, I am directly going into buy or sell decisions based upon some insider information. That I have. On the other hand, if there is tipper tippy, so here what I am giving, I am working with the bank and I am giving you a tip. Okay, the way we were discussing that IIT Bombay example. So one of the wingmates calls the other wingmate and gives a tip that you can buy my shares because my company will do better in these 6 months, right? Or it is coming out with a very good financial result, so the market will rise, my share prices will rise, so you can make a 20% quick buck in this rise. Then there is front running. Now this is very important. This was also in news because of some scam that was going on in Axis Mutual Fund. So one of the fund managers, he was seen driving Lamborghinis, which was not proportionate to his salaries. So what is this front running? Please understand this. So front running is, let's say I have an order of Cristiano Ronaldo, and I am Axis Mutual Fund and I have an order of Cristiano Ronaldo that I have to buy 1 crore shares of Hindustan Unilever. I have to buy 1 crore shares of Hindustan Unilever, right? Now, I have got this order and I will have to punch, or I have to buy this order in the next week. Before buying this HUL share, what I'll do is, I will ask one of my friend to buy the HUL share. Why? Because if 1 crore shares of HUL will be bought from the market, naturally the demand will be high, so the prices of HUL can rise, right? If you are every day buying more and more shares, what will happen? HUL will rise. So let's say this is the date on which you will start buying. You will actually start buying as a mutual fund. So you will ask your friend, for the 3 days, for 3 continuous days, why don't you buy 10 lakh shares of HUL right now, before I start to buy the 1 crore HUL shares, right? So this is front running. That means before I start buying, I'll ask my friend to buy. So what will happen? The day I am almost ending the buy, he will exit. So that is front running. So that was happening. Then what happens if there is insider trading? All the trust that investors repose in the market, that is subdued. Whatever trust that you invest in the regulator, that is shaking. And then essentially what happens is it reflects on the corporate governance. And to say so, how the leadership of the company is allowing such an activity going on. Then most importantly, it is leading to some disproportionate gains to some people. Now think about it. This is your stock market. A lot of people are coming in, they are putting in some money. Let's say this particular person is earning disproportionately. What will happen to these three? They are at a loss. So that means one particular group, in this example where we are looking at Access Mutual Fund, that particular fund manager, he earned disproportionate wealth. And so what happened? The others were at a disadvantage. All the other investors, right? So it is basically creates an asymmetry in the market, right? Because please understand that for the markets, information is everything. So if you get the information about companies, let's say 1 second before, and this is a serious 1 second is not a hypothetical example. Let's say you get any information about a company 1 second before. So what you can do is you can place your bets 1 second before the entire market can. And so that gives you a very big arbitrage, very big advantage of information. So this is called information asymmetry. Whenever you have information asymmetry, whether in markets or in general governance, okay, the other party is at a disadvantage. Then it naturally affects the openness, transparency and efficiency, and this is prone to stock price manipulation. So many times you will see that stocks are outperforming while their financials are not doing well. So this is nothing but stock price manipulation. Now we'll today look at stock price manipulation in another topic. Now let's look at the regulation. So SEBI is the regulator and it oversees all insider trading, and whatever insider trading is allowed, you have to disclose to SEBI beforehand. And so you have the PIT, which is called Prohibition of Insider Trading Norms, issued by SEBI. Then the penalties can include financial penalties, prison sentences, restitution. That means you stop any activity in the market, your licenses can be cancelled, and you can be prohibited from trading in the markets, right? You cannot trade in the market for 5 years, 10 years, right? That kind of penalties are also imposed. Let's look at sharing investor data. Another news, very important news pertaining to SEBI. So FPIs get 7 months to liquidate their holdings. Now let's understand what is the backdrop. So you have some FDIs coming in the market. Whenever you have FDIs, they are for long term and they have the skin in the game. That means if you are a FDI investor into India, you are essentially looking at some facilities, you are looking at some industries, and let's say your mindset has 10, 12 years, 20 years, 30 years. So you have a decadal mindset and you are essentially becoming a promoter of the business. As an FDI player, you are coming with more ownership of the company, right? So you will be a key decision maker in the company. That is one. Now, when you look at FII and FPI, they are more or less looking the same. So FDI, on one hand, it's more stable money, it's a long-term investment, it has large gestation period. But when you are looking at FPI or FII, you are looking at more volatile funds. You are looking at more volatile inflows in the market. And usually these FPI, FII, they are coming into the stock market. So they will come and buy the shares of companies, they will buy the bonds, debentures. They even park their fund in some mutual funds. So mutual funds are the funds which are pooled from multiple investors, and they, on the behalf of all these investors, they will pool in this money in the market. They will invest this money in the market, wherever, in bonds or in equities. Equities to mean shares. Now, in this particular case, if I am comparing FPI and FII, so the name says foreign portfolio investors. Now think about it. A lot of people will tell you what is a portfolio. So If I have a portfolio, I will, let's say, allocate some money to this company and that company, to this sector and that sector. Similarly, high net worth individuals, they would give some money to these portfolio managers. What they will do is they will invest, let's say, 5 crore rupees of them across the world. So 20% in Brazil, 20% in, let's say, India. Why? Because India is an emerging market. It is the next big story that is coming to the world. So its growth potentials are unlimited as of now, and in the next 2 decades, you are looking at a $5 to $10 trillion economy. So that means any high net worth individual will like to have some investment in the Indian market. Now please understand this. This is an example of Cristiano Ronaldo again. So this Cristiano Ronaldo, is he actively looking at ownership of a company? No. But is his money coming to the market? The answer is yes. So any celebrity, for that matter, any celebrity who is, let's say, 500 crore, 1000 crore, $1 billion. So all these high net worth individuals sitting in Abu Dhabi, UAE, they will tend to invest in the Indian market. So they can go through this fund manager route. They will get a fund manager who will manage their portfolio. They will have 20% exposure to India, 20% to US, 5% to Brazil, like that. So they will make a portfolio of companies and they will invest through, and all this investment will be managed by the fund manager. This is one type of portfolio management. What about foreign institutional investors? So FII, they are more big. They are typically very big institutions. So in comparison, if you're looking at FDI, so FDI inflows are for the longest period of time and they have the highest skin in the game. Okay, they want to have ownership of the company. Okay, they can be promoters also. When you are looking at FII, you are looking at institutions. Institutions are usually big in size, and institutions come out with reports. They do their own research. They do a lot of reading. They do conference calls. They talk to companies. They talk to company management. They also buy shares. But the shares can be as high as 8% in a company, 5% in a company, right? So they are somehow being more active in the market, and so they will buy and sell in the market. Okay, on a regular basis, on a day-to-day basis. They will conduct their reports. For example, Morgan Stanley, actively engaged in the market, actively engaged in the Indian market. You have JP Morgan and Chase, you have let's say Citibank, you have HSBC. So all of them, they are actively invested in India. Similarly, you have mutual funds. So you have these are institutions, mutual funds, whether you're talking about foreign banks or you're talking about the biggest source are like your pension funds. Okay, large pension funds. One good example is the Canadian pension fund. Then you have these sovereign wealth funds, for example, the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, right? So these funds are, they have a moderate gestation period, right? If the Indian economy goes down, so they will withdraw their money. But in general, they have more ownership and they have bigger quantum. For example, yesterday only the FIIs, they invested around 10. They had a trade of around 19,000 crores in the market. So this is on a day-to-day basis, they are doing this kind of buys and sell. So net, they sold 9,000 crores of shares in the Indian market yesterday. Similarly, there are some domestic institutional investors. So when you are looking at portfolio investors are of the smaller size, right? Now, let's take a very simple example, and this will tell you why all of this is happening. So let's say I have a company called C. This company is earning, let's say, 50,000 crores. Let's not take a figure. Let's just take an example. So this company, what it does is it wants to evade some taxes. It wants to siphon off its wealth. So what this company will do is it will contact a company in Hong Kong. And it will say that please give me inflated bills, 5 times bills, 10 times bills, and in turn what will happen, that you give me some minor services and I will transfer some money and here some services. Now please understand that this is inflated. That means if for the same services I am getting some genuine contractor, I am able to get that done in 1 rupee, and here I am getting the bills of 5 rupee. So what happens? I am able to send 4 extra rupee to Hong Kong. Now this Hong Kong company, what it does is, any company would like to invest. So this company, what it does, it creates a fund. It creates a fund in Mauritius. Please understand this very carefully. This company creates a fund, okay, in Mauritius and parks all the 4 rupees here, okay. Then some other people may also be giving this company some money. So similarly parks the money here, and this particular fund is flowing to India as FPI, okay, as FPI. And these funds, they somehow simultaneously, all the fund, they start buying the shares of this company. Please understand very carefully. What I am saying is that this particular company C is a very big company. This company gives some money to H. H in turn gives this some services. But the services comes on an inflated bill for which an inflated amount of money is transferred. One is the real value of the services, but I am transferring 5 rupee. So that 4 rupee is transferred to a fund. Because H also does business, so H is now into investing business. So a fund is created, let's say some India Opportunity Fund, okay, India Opportunity Fund, or Next Big Thing Fund, okay. This fund, what it does is, it goes on to become a foreign portfolio investor in India. It registers itself as a foreign portfolio investor in front of SEBI, and it says it wants to invest in the Indian economy. What it does, instead it buys the shares of this company only, of the company C. So let's say 80%, 90% of all the investment coming here are going towards company C. Now think about it. Okay, this much is clear. Now think about it. According to SEBI, let's say you are a listed company. You come out with an IPO and you are a listed company. So what you do, you cannot have, the owner cannot have, or the promoter cannot have more than 75% of the shares of the company. Else how does it become a publicly listed company? The public is not having the shares, right? So 75% of the shares of this company is with the promoter. The promoter cannot buy any more share, okay? Yes. Through any other method it cannot buy. The promoter's son, the promoter's brother, nobody can buy. Immediate family are also considered as promoter. They cannot buy, okay? Now what happens? This fund that we created in Mauritius. So remember, this is your Hong Kong, this is your Mauritius, and this is, let's say, company C. Now what happens? The transfer fund happened to Mauritius. Now this company is buying, let's say, 5% of the shares of this company. So the total will be that 75% the promoter has and 5% this Mauritius company has. So how much percentage is left? 20%. That means have I bypassed the 75% rule? Why? Because my money has been round tipped to Mauritius to buy the same shares of my company. Acha. We have a simple understanding that the markets run on demand and supply. The markets run on demand and supply. Let's say there is a company where 75% is with the promoter and 25% is with the market. But here what is happening? 75% plus 5% and 20%. What if, just imagine, what if I created 3 entities like this and each of these entities had 5% share? Then I will have 75 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. So 75, 80, 85, 90. 90% share is now with this particular promoter only. So how many shares are there in the market? Only 10%. So by doing this, what happens is that you decrease the amount of share that is available in the market. And so it is a simple game of demand and supply. So more and more shares you buy of your own company, the market, there is a liquidity squeeze. There is no liquidity. Liquidity, that means you are going to the market to buy sugar and there is no sugar. So there is a liquidity squeeze. So you are going to buy the shares, but shares are not there. So what will happen? There will be a squeeze, and because of this lack of liquidity, the prices of my share will rise, and it will rise how? It will rise exponentially, right? And so this is a very good example of price manipulation. Price manipulation. And so who is making money out of it? The promoter only sent the 4 rupee outside, then routed it again, showing as foreign portfolio investor, right? So the excess billing amount was again invested in the same company. Now, can this fund buy and sell very easily? Yes, this fund can buy and sell very easily. Can I say this is nothing but insider trading also? Because it is my money only just being routed through multiple layers of companies, shell companies, right? So because of this, the SEBI has come out with some rules where it wants investor data. It wants to know the money is coming from a foreign portfolio investor. You tell me the beneficiary, who is the real owner, okay? And especially if you have very high exposure in a single company. You have very high exposure in the single company. Let's say this foreign portfolio investor is buying only Larsen & Toubro, only Larsen & Toubro. So they will have to declare. Now let's look about it. So SEBI introduced additional disclosure norms for foreign portfolio investors. Aim is to prevent manipulation. What is price manipulation of shares? Why? Because it decreases the trust. Of minimum public shareholding rules, that is 75% is the max you can hold, okay, and rest has to be with other shareholders. And curb indirect control of Indian companies by overseas entities through shell firms. Now think about it. If you have seen the Harshad Mehta scam, let's assume that Harshad Mehta is alive, and Harshad Mehta, along with his some 5-6 followers, he is operating from Cayman Islands, one is operating from Mauritius, and they start doing this. Can they not manipulate the prices of Indian stock market right now? Yes. So that is why simultaneously will it also not lead to the control through overseas entities, which are essentially shell firms. How this company of Mauritius is getting, let's say 50 crore rupees to invest in India? What is the business? The business is nothing. It is being routed from Hong Kong. So one shell company transferring it to another shell company. And do you think this Hong Kong company actually provided some services, consultancy services? The answer is no. They are essentially they are corporate entities made to just siphon off the money. So these are again shell companies. So layers of shell companies just to bypass the law. So what is the additional disclosure? So FPIs must disclose details of ownership, economic rights and control rights. Aims to identify the ultimate beneficial ownership. Ultimate beneficial ownership, that it might happen that this promoter, this is the holding company in Hong Kong, this is in Mauritius, and ultimate beneficiary is promoter's child. It can happen, right? So then it becomes a clear nexus. Now on whom it will be applicable? So it applies to foreign portfolio investors with 50% of equity assets under management in a single Indian corporate group. In any single corporate group, if you have invested 50% of your total money, then you are liable. Now, can you bypass this? Yes, you will now create 10 shell companies. 10 shell companies. Then second, also applicable to FPIs with over 25,000 crore investment in the Indian stock market. Now it is also bordering on the quantum of assets. Now who will be exempted? So look at the names: sovereign wealth fund, listed companies, public retail funds, other regulated pool investment vehicles. Why? Because these are institutional investors. They are large groups. So Morgan Stanley India or Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan Chase, they are institutions. Canadian Pension Fund, they are institutions. They will have to abide by the corporate governance norms as well as they are listed companies. So particularly, let's say the banks, they are listed companies. So they will have to disclose it to their shareholders back in the US that what they are doing. And if they are involved in any type of fraud, then naturally their shares there will be tanked. So improved corporate governance in institutions helps them to not go through these additional disclosure norms. Furthermore, please understand that the institutional investors are already regulated. They are more regulated than FPIs. FPI route is the least regulated when you compare FII, FDI and FPI. Now, risk of concentrated FPI investments. Concerns arise when FPI investments are concentrated, indicating potential coordination between FPIs and corporate group promoters. Promoter holding more than stipulated 75% parking shares with friendly FPIs can distort the true free float. What do you understand by free float? It is the average amount of shares which are available in the market for buying and selling. If the promoter has having 75% and these funds they keep on buying the shares of the company, then the free float decreases, and because of this demand supply mismatch, what happens? The prices of the shares increase. But what is the crisis here? What is the main issue is that the quantum is as high as 2.6 lakh crore. So now either of the two things can happen, that these funds will comply by the norms of the SEBI, or they will start withdrawing their money. So there is a deadline. So let's look at it. So FPIs, the existing FPIs who are in breach of these rules, they are required to adjust their exposure by January 29. If they wish to modify their exposure, they can decrease their exposure. FPIs unable to comply must take additional disclosures. If they are not adjusting, then they have to give additional disclosures. They have to tell the beneficiary ownership. And 6 months extra is allowed for reducing. So either of the two things, you can either reduce your position or you can declare by maintaining your same stake. In declaration, the issue is that a lot of names may come up. So to reduce, the government has, the SEBI has given 6 months. Why? Because if I give 1 month deadline, then suddenly 2.6 lakh crore can be pulled out, or at least 50% is pulled out, then it can create some tumult in the Indian economy. Let's look at cashless treatment. Now, the General Insurance Council, in collaboration with general and health insurance companies, is introducing cashless everywhere system for health insurance, and this pertains to your GS2 health and GS3 Indian economy. Now, please understand that in India, we are looking at two issues. One is the out of pocket expenditure is very high. Now, simultaneously, this out of pocket expenditure when it comes to health, it is a very big issue for the poor people of India, and therefore we bought the insurance, right? Ayushman Bharat, right? Now, if you are bringing insurance, the assumption is that you do not have to pay any money. That means in your mind you are saying, I will have a card and that card will ensure cashless use. But even after having insurance, you have approximately only 50% people going for this cashless option, okay? And we'll understand why. So so you go about health insurance. So does it cover all the medicines? The answer is no. Does it cover the diagnostics, all the tests? And please understand, this diagnostics, the lab work, it is very expensive, yes? So one report can easily cost you 200 rupees, another report can be 4,000, 5,000 rupees. So these reports, they are very expensive. So when you are buying medicine and you are going for these diagnostics, so you are spending from your pocket only. In pocket, either you have savings, so you are depleting your savings, or you are going through a credit card, and this credit card will again keep you indebted for future times, or you are borrowing from your friends or from some other person, again you are indebted. So whenever you have any sickness, it brings what? It brings financial misery. Okay. Now the assumption is that if you get a health insurance, then everything is covered. No. So let's say you have pain in your teeth, that is not covered. So you go for any dental based, let's say you go for root canal, that is not covered. So it is called cosmetic. So dental work, dental related medical work, that is called as cosmetic. So that is not covered. And if you are a perpetual alcoholic, etc., so you have bad habits, right? So that is not covered. And let's say you are suffering from high BP, high blood pressure, you're suffering from, let's say, high cholesterol. So all those things, if you have a precondition, if you have any precondition, so for some time these ailments will also not be considered. So when I say that I have health insurance, I have only insurance of few few ailments, and that too I am not covering usually the diagnostics and the medicine. Most importantly, whenever we get some of some of our near ones, they have been in hospital, we have experienced that that you are incurring, let's say, a day-to-day expenditure also, right? You're bringing a lot of fruits, vegetables and all, and that is not covered in the insurance. So out of pocket expenditure is also about when your near one is in the ward, you are incurring some expense on a daily basis. So all of this adds up to the out of pocket expenditure, and this out of pocket expenditure is the biggest reason that any health ailment, it brings a lot of financial misery. Second thing is that whenever you take a medical insurance, there are two methods through which you get payment. One method is that you go for reimbursement. That means I cash in, I go and use my account money, I use my cards, I swipe my card, and so later on I'll submit the bills to my insurer, to my health insurer, and then they will reimburse me or send me money, or they will reimburse part of that the expenditure that was incurred. So that is one way. Other way is that I go into the hospital and everything is taken care of by the health insurer. This is the cashless method, and this is the ideal method, so that whenever you have an ailment, it should not shock your entire financial system and your financial stability of your family, right? Now what happens is that there is an insurer. Let's take an example. Let's say we have HDFC Ergo. Let's say we have HDFC, or we have, let's say, Star Health, right? Or let's say we have SBI, we have other companies. So we have multiple companies, and HDFC will have some network. They will have some network, and they will have a different network. Now, what do I mean by network? So let's say SBI gives me a health card, and that health card I take to the Apollo hospital. And so Apollo says, oh sir, we are not enrolled with your SBI. Oh sir, I will not service this. Then say I'll ask, sir, what insurance you service? Oh, I only service HDFC and Star Health. Okay. Then I go to let's say Max. In Max, I am asking, please take my Star Health card. No. We only deal with HDFC. Okay. We only deal with the best brand. Then again, you are running from pillar to post. So now what you will do? You will pay the money. So even though you had health insurance, you had a very good hospital in front of you, but you couldn't utilize your health insurance at that point of time, right? So this is because of the network effect. So every other health insurance, they will have a different network. So when you are ill, think about it. Whenever we buy a house, okay, in your housing decision making, let's say this is a grid and you buy a house. The first thing that you will see, our parents would see, is that 1 kilometer you have a hospital. Here in this direction 3 kilometer you have a hospital. What are the chances that this particular hospital is in the network of your insurance provider, right? So that is an issue. So now what we are trying to do is that there will be a single network for cashless treatment, single network, so that all the treatment under medical insurance, they are going towards cashless treatment. Now you must also understand that there are some exclusions here, right? Not everything is covered in your health insurance. So your cosmetic surgeries, pre-existing illnesses, your infertility, health supplements related to diseases related to overconsumption of alcohol, alternative therapies and diagnostic charges, they are not covered. And your day-to-day expenses, they are also not covered. And please understand, we are not talking about the usual day-to-day. We are talking about the day-to-day expenses that happens whenever someone is ill. Now, under this system, the policy holders can receive treatment at any hospital of their choice, even if it is not in the network. So, this non-network problem of this disintegrated market, that will be solved, because now you use your medical insurance card and you go to any hospital, whether in your network or not, and you will get health insurance. So this is the biggest boon. Now this is happening in this industry while there are talks that there will be huge reforms in the insurance sector in the upcoming budget. There will be cashless facility will be available irrespective of hospital's affiliation with insurance company, and it eliminates the need for reimbursement claims. So this is a big headache. First you have to spend let's say 2 to 3 lakh rupees, then you are quarreling with the insurance company that will you give me money or not. So this is a very big issue. Then the policy holders can be admitted to a hospital without making an upfront payment, and the insurance company will settle the bill on the discharge day. So I will not settle, my insurer will settle. So now it becomes a transaction between the insurer and the hospital, right? But let's say I have a coverage of 5 lakh and the bill is 6 lakh, then naturally I will also have to chip in. Then currently this cashless facility are only available at hospitals with agreements or tie-ups. If a policyholder chooses a hospital without such an agreement, they have to go through reimbursement process, which cause delays. And only 63% of customers opt for cashless claims, while rest are going for reimbursement. Now please understand, reimbursement has also become a type of scam. So what if you are using a small hospital, okay, to create artificial bills, and then you are asking your Mediclaim to reimburse you, right? Without any ailment, you are going and just creating bills, fake bills, just to get the reimbursement. So that was another issue. Now under the new system, so now please understand something. Let's say we have 5 top hospitals and there is a small hospital, okay. Now what happens is that in current scenario, what happens? I would go and create a fake bill here to get the medical insurer. Now what will be the opportunity that if you are really ill, you are really sick, you can go any of the top hospitals, right? So now the insurance company, they will also catch any fake bills, fake invoicing. Then under the new system, the policyholder needs to inform the insurance company at least 48 hours before admission. For emergency, they will be informing 48 hours within 48 hours of admission. Now let's look at a direct listing. So Indian companies can directly list on the GIFT IFSC exchanges. Now please understand that any particular company that is coming to to raise funds, so they are having the option of the Indian markets, right? Now we do not have the options, so you can raise your money from India by listing in the Indian stock exchange. The other issue is, what if you want to raise some money from US, UK, etc.? That is one issue. So earlier we used to have GDR and ADR. We'll understand this. And the other issue was, so this is, let's try to write what are we doing. So raising fund from India. Okay. Here I am trying to rake up some fund from the West. But what if I am an Indian company, but I want to get listed on NASDAQ? I want to get listed in UK. I want to get listed in the Nikkei, in the Japanese market. So what will happen? So the other issue is foreign listing. Foreign listing. Now, till this point, we were following this route and this route. So please understand that we have a company called Infosys. Infosys is an Indian company. Yes. It is listed where? It is listed in the Indian stock market. Infosys also has a Infosys ADR. This ADR is American Depository Ratio. So this receipt, American Depository Receipt. So this Infosys ADR, it trades in the US market. It trades in the US market. So now anyone who wants to invest, any US person, any person who is in the US market who wants to invest in Infosys, they can buy the Infosys ADR. But the company is listed where? It is listed in India. So this is a method through which different investors can also participate in the growth of Infosys. Okay, but you will have Infosys ADR, you will have Infosys GDR. How many times you will put your receipt everywhere, right? This is one method. Now, what today we are saying is that we are listing, let's say, a company called info.com. Info.com we will list in the gift city of IFSC. So in this International Financial Center, what we'll do is we'll list the info.com. So info.com can now raise money from all investors from globe. So you can get investors from US, UK, etc. So you will attract more funds from international sources, and you can also have your domestic investors. So rather than making a ADR, GDR, now you can get more funds directly participating in the market. So this is one type of innovation. The last type is that we are trying to have some agreement with, let's say, the London Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, etc. to get our Indian companies to get listed. For example, why Alibaba, it launched its IPO in the US. It's a Chinese company, right? So can we launch some of our startups? Can we list our startups, some of the successful startups in the US market to attract more fund, to attract more dollars, to say so. Now let's look at this reading. The Indian government notified the direct listing of shares of Indian companies on the GIFT Cities exchange, and this was announced by the finance minister in the vibrant Gujarat summit. Then the eligible exchanges are Indian International Exchange and NSE International Exchange. So the way we have the BSE, NSE, similarly they have created these alternate companies who work in the GIFT City, that is IFSC. The IFSC and the IFSCA, they are located where? In the GIFT City. So the GIFT City, IFSC, IFSCA, they become very important for your prelims. Now, what are the eligibility criteria? So public Indian companies can issue shares on eligible exchanges. Then entities involved, including promoters, directors, or selling shareholders, should not be debarred. If someone is debarred by SEBI, so naturally they will not be participating. Then promoters or directors should not be associated with another debarred Indian company in the capital market. So no debarred entity will operate. Then the criteria also includes the absence of willful defaulters or fugitive economic offenders. So whenever you open up the market for others, you will have the tendency of a lot of unscrupulous players to play in the market, to enter the market. Okay, stock price manipulators, market manipulators also can come, willful defaulters can also come with their money, with their dirty money. So all of that will not be allowed. Now, when we look at the global listing possibilities, the move is the first step for Indian companies to list overseas. The government is exploring direct listings on the London Stock Exchange, and previously, if you wanted to get money from foreign stock exchanges, you wanted to list, so you used to go for depository receipts like ADR and GDR. ADR is for America, GDR for the rest of Europe. Then how it will impact? So it can lead to a lot of inflows in the Indian capital market, and startups and companies in the sunrise and technology sectors. For example, if some startup is coming up in, let's say, edtech, it is coming up in, let's say, payment systems, or anything related to the digital economy, digital growth of India, so naturally they will have better valuations in such direct listing, because this direct listing, it increases the participation of foreign investors. Then it is expected to boost your foreign investments. Thank you so much. I hope it helped.